We are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Darian Talks UTSA. We are a couple days out from UTSA taking on Tulsa, so I definitely want to jump into that. UTSA also announced a partnership with Nike that'll be kicking off in June of next year. So I'll go into a little bit of that, and then I'll get to I'll get to the question that we have, but hopefully we have more questions coming in as people roll through. I am scheduled to do an hour today, but we'll go as long as we can with questions, and we'll see how long it goes today, depending on who shows up. It's funny about whenever the team's not winning or not doing as well. Whenever you do things like this live, it is very, very difficult to get people's time. So anyway, we'll go as long as we do, and then we'll go from there. Make sure you guys like and subscribe the video as you come in. That always helps the channel. It helps everything. So that costs everybody's $0. So make sure you do that as a help. And then we'll go from there. I guess before I start getting into anything in the chat, we only have one question so far. But whenever but before I get into any questions, I would advise folks to go ahead and fill up the chat with your questions and comments. But I'll just jump into some of my thoughts on the game against Tulsa this weekend. I think I like to ask myself every time I go into looking into some of these games, and you guys have heard me say this before, what is UTSA up against whenever we look at this, whenever we look at Tulsa, right? When we look at our opponent. And a few things stuck out to me like a sore thumb. And the way they make me feel is, guys, I feel like we should. Now, I don't want to jinx anything for saying this, but this is a game that we should win. We should win. Tulsa's 2-5. Their record has no. Their record in itself is not why I'm saying that we should win. I'm saying that we should win based on what I've seen from their play. They are just not a very functional team in a lot of ways. They struggle in a lot of different areas. They're not very good, running the ball. They're not very good through the air. They're just offensively rather deficient, if I'm being honest, especially if you look at what they've done over the last couple of games. They're hardly generating the offense. I mean, against Army, they generated 248 yards. Against Temple, they generated 245 yards. Those are their last two games. I think they did a little bit against, they put up some yardage against North Texas. I think North Texas was a bit off, but North Texas never has just a great defense like that. But they're just not a great and excellent offensive group. I'll pull up some of their numbers. Let's see. AC stats. I'll pull up some of their numbers to sort of paint the picture a little more in terms of how they will there we go. Yeah, how they compare to others in the conference. And I think it'll sort of tell the story into why I'm sort of making some of the conclusions that I am. In terms of offensive points per game, they're third worst in the conference with 22 points a game. When you look at them defensively, they also have the third worst defense, giving up more than 34 and a half points per game, which is one of the reasons why I'm like, not great. And I can't just say like UTSA is just wildly better, but we're averaging 25 points a game and we're giving up, 30 points a game. So we're not better by a long shot. But what I'm saying is Tulsa's in a bad spot. They're in a very, very bad spot. And I'm hoping we can take advantage of it. I think, their quarterback is from a, what is it? I think just from an efficiency standpoint, he's probably the seventh best quarterback, maybe even less. in the conference. From a receiver standpoint, they do have one receiver. I think his name is Camden Benjamin. He is, among the top receivers, uh, in the conference so far. But other than that, there's not a whole lot to ride home about with this team. To be honest, this is not me trying to necessarily crap on them. It's just the nature of what we're up against. I think one of the things that I've seen that stuck out on film, folks, is if there's a game for Owen McCown to really spread his wings, it's going to be this one. It's going to be this one. This team will blow a coverage like no one I've ever seen. They do not cover They do not cover deep very well. Some of the mistakes that I've seen them make over the last few weeks in pass coverage, have been, really, really bad. Like not Division I level mistakes. And they were making them rather consistently. And I think some of that has to do with the way they disguise their coverages, right? What you're going to see against, what you're going to see from Tulsa is they're going to disguise their coverages a lot of different ways. Like, for example, they like to do the cover 3 where, they'll roll one corner to the side. They'll roll one corner down to cover the flat, to give them a cover 2 look on one side. But in reality, what's happening, that near side safety is going over to take where that corner's at, having someone else drop to the middle, and they're having a corner on the other side drop to the middle. They do a couple of things that can be tricky, but I actually think it gets them into quite a bit of trouble because they have guys going and covering areas that aren't used to covering that area, right? I think one of the things they do is when they run their cover 2 sets, when they have their 2 safeties high, their safeties have a tendency of going like way outside of way outside of the half, right? Like going way almost close to the sideline, like out where the numbers are. And in general, the safeties, they don't really want to be there because they can't redirect themselves inside if they need to. So sometimes they'll teach it depending on where they're lined up. They want you maybe 2 yards outside of the hash, sometimes on the hash, sometimes inside the hash if the ball is far side of you from a safety perspective. Just imagine that, and then imagine when I say, like, sometimes these guys, they may not line up on the numbers, but they get to the numbers very quick, which is odd. And they'll ask their Mike linebacker to drop in the middle and what's called run the pole, which in cover 2 it helps the middle of the field get covered. That their Mike linebacker is doing that the whole time, watching quarterback eyes, not looking to find work as he drops back. I would just say go look at the Texas State game. They clinically break down that defense. Clinically. I guarantee you UTSA is using a lot of that film and saying, yeah, we're going to implement a lot of this against that defense. So that's one of the things that I've seen that is just going to be something that we should be able to exploit going into this game. I'll go ahead and take a question or two. David says, if we dominate this weekend, can we head into the Memphis game with more optimism, maybe hopeful for a win, or do we crumble when facing opponents that are on our level or better? My answer to this question is, listen, it's football. Anything can happen. So football is all about momentum. We go in and beat a Tulsa team that we probably should beat. You never know what's going to happen against Memphis. What happens if Memphis loses? I don't know who's Memphis is playing. But what happens? There's just a lot that can happen, between now and then. Memphis got Charlotte. They're not losing that one. Yeah, they're not losing that one. Memphis will be coming in strong. Although Charlotte, they beat the brakes off of East Carolina a couple weeks ago. I remember that. But they're not going to lose that game. But here's what I'll say, man. Like, a team with momentum can always come in and shock a team that are expected to win. That is something that can happen each and every time. We see that happen all the time. We see that happen in conference play. And then you just never know when it starts to click for somebody. maybe, like I said, if there's going to be a game where Owen spreads his wings, it'll be this game. I guarantee you that. I don't know if it'll happen, but will he have an opportunity to shred this defense apart? Absolutely. Absolutely. Even as banged up as we are. When you look at film and see the mistakes that team makes, I think that this is an opportunity for us to inject some life into our season. I truly believe that we have an opportunity to do that. So yeah, and if we want any shot at a bowl game, this is a must win. This is a must win. So yeah, we'll see. I will go into that game with optimism. Am I gonna do I think we're gonna go in and beat a Memphis? Who knows? Probably not. But we just gotta see. We just gotta see. I don't think. Listen. Here's the thing. It's not even about crumbling in the face of some of these opponents that are on a better, higher level than us, or even on our level. I think right now, what is our level? You know, what is our level? I think we, in general, what I think we've learned this season is we aren't as good as we thought we were. That's essentially what it's come down to. We aren't as good as we thought we were. David says film breakdowns ? So here's the problem with the film breakdowns. I can't get the video. I wish I knew how the Alamo Audible guys were getting I can't get the video anymore. So like when I first did the breakdowns, I was able to get them from ESPN I was able to kind of record the clips the way I wanted to from ESPN. It got blocked somehow. Like whenever I try to use that same method, it's whenever I try to do that same method, the ESPN screen goes black. So trust me, I want to do those. I watch the tape all the time. It's nothing for me to cut those up. What really upsets me is I actually bought a software that would make, because I'll be honest with you, that's really time consuming to do that the way I was doing it, right? But I actually bought a software that makes it a lot more easy, and I think it's some of what some of the guys on TV use. And I can't get the freaking video. So if anybody has any tips on how I can get the video, where I can actually clip up things, I'd absolutely do the film breakdowns. I have the equipment and the software to do it and to optimize the time it takes, but I can't get the video. I've been struggling with that. And I haven't even tried the last week or two because all the weeks prior, I just haven't been able to get it. Mike says the goal is to go to Tulsa and come back with a dub and healthy. Absolutely. And I think that's very much in the cards. I think we should beat that team. Even based on what UTSA has shown this season, I think Tulsa is probably in a worse spot than we are. And that's saying something. So, it's 100% a team I expect to go in and be victorious against. And then I will love to hear from you guys on this. What do you think happens with the fan base if we win these two games? Like we have back-to-back victories. What happens? Do people come back? Like, because you can just see, here's what I've noticed. And this is just, I wasn't able to go to the homecoming game either. I will be there this weekend though, by the way. And hope to see you guys tailgating, because I'm going to bring some of my family down, and one of them could be a future road runner who's a senior in high school. He's a football player. I don't know if UTSA is recruiting him necessarily, but he really wants to go to UTSA. So he's going to come down and going to show him around the tailgates, show him around the UTSA football atmosphere and that sort of thing. So next home game, I'll be there. But anyway, I'm curious to know, like, yeah, my wife texted me and said, not this weekend, next weekend, next home game. But like I said, I'm curious to hear from you guys on what do you think the fan base is going to do? I can't read it, to be completely honest. I feel like what I did notice for homecoming is that I got a bunch of messages from folks who were going to homecoming who weren't necessarily UTSA. It's not that they're not UTSA football fans, but they don't live in the city. They don't live in Central South Texas, but they're alumni. So they traveled in for homecoming festivities, and they went to the game and stuff like that. And the common thing that I got back was, where was everybody? They said, well, I've seen all these people on TV, you know, they may live in other parts of the country. They said, I came back and there wasn't a ton of people at the game, or at the tailgates. The tailgates wasn't as lively as they had thought. And I told them, I said, listen, I mean, a lot of that has to do with how UTSA has been performing. But considering the fact that UTSA won the homecoming against FAU, if we do win against Tulsa, what does that mean for Memphis? And people say, well, like some of these teams aren't that exciting. I think Memphis is an exciting team, right? I mean, I really do. Memphis is nothing to sneeze at, you know. They're going to be 6-1 by the time or 7-1 by the time we get to them. I mean, I don't know where they're at in the polls from being ranked or close to being ranked, but I'd hope that we are more than 20,000 people, you know? But yeah, I'm curious. We'll see. I know the FAU wasn't a sexy game for people to go to, although it was homecoming, but I don't know. I feel like because of the way the season has went, and I get it, but because of the way the season has went, folks are less interested. And I think some of the effort to promote UTSA football just in general, not saying that it's gone away, but it feels a little more distant than it did a few weeks ago. Mike says, are we just unlucky with all the injuries the past couple of years, or is it a result of bad nutrition or technique? Coach mentioned in an interview nutrition was a possible reason for injuries. So a lot of it's going to have to do with luck. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast, man. Like some of these injuries, like you look at a JT Clark and his situation. I hate to bring his situation up, but it's just the truth. What are the chances of him, his first catch, you know, on his way back, the person shoots a roll right on his knee, hits him right on the knee, towards ACL. Like that's just, if that's not unlucky, I don't know what is. And some of these things you fall wrong in a huge, you know, in a huge pile of bodies, you come out injured. You know, some of those things are just unfortunate and they happen. In terms of the nutrition piece, a lot of that that can be a factor as well. I mean, what that to me will say some of those guys probably aren't eating the way they should be eating. Some of them may not be eating enough. Some of them may be eating too much. And that is starting to show up in other areas. That very well could be a problem. Because you know, like they work you out really difficult in the summer to make sure your body and just the off season in general, to make sure your body is starting the season in a certain state, because you're going to lose some of what you built up in the summer, right? So when you think about that, it's one of those things where I think I heard Coach Traylor was talking about, like, yeah, some of the older guys that he has on his team, he was resting some of them up. And to me, that was, I didn't comment on that here on the show, but it was just one of the things that was interesting to me, because here's the way I see it. In the offseason, you got to push the guys hard. It's one thing to pull them back from taking a lot of contacts, you know, getting hit a lot during camp because you want to protect those guys. But in the offseason, they need to be, you know, especially those older guys, they need to be in tip-top shape, because as I said, you're not lifting as much, and you're not lifting to build mass and muscle throughout a season. You're lifting to maintain. You don't get stronger throughout the season. You maintain what you have. You fight and you lift and you utilize your nutrition, and manage your nutrition consumption to keep what you have, to keep what you've built in the summer. And I think to me, him pointing to something like that is pointing to deficiencies in those areas, and they got to clean those up. That type of stuff is unacceptable, because that's stuff we can control. Like, I know coaches technically can't control some of it, but like They can is what I can say. They can is what I can say, and it could be, and it probably is a reason. In terms of technique, could be technique. I would say less likely, but could be. Daniel says at the end of the day, UTSA needs to bring it. Doesn't matter the record. We need to stop making mistakes and hurting ourselves. It happens. Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a lot of I think there's some technical cleanup that we need to do just overall. Listen, I do think we're getting better quarterback play, although he threw two really, really bad interceptions last game. I do think some of the things he showed last game is a progression from what we got in those first few games. And I think that's important. Am I convinced that that is what's going to take us to the promised land long term for seasons to come? Not yet. I still think we probably should explore other options at the end of the year. However, um, nonetheless, he's gotten better. And I just think that some of the guys need to be given more, especially at the running back position. Let's trim some of those. You know, I hate to say like don't play certain guys, but I'd like to see Brandon Hyde get more of share of the runs and coming in and bringing 5 and 6 backs in. I don't know if that is conducive to winning. To be honest, how are these guys going to be able to get into a feel and a rhythm for the game? I'd really, really like to do something different there. Mistakes. Angela said people come back and more tailgaters in the lot. I hope so. I hope so. I really, really hope so because I believe we're going to win, and I hope to see a lot of people while I'm there. But I just think, at least in San Antonio, I feel like there's a lot of passion around the program when things are good. But it alarms. Well, here's what I'll say. What's super noticeable in my opinion? It gets really, 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 really dry whenever UTSA is not playing well. Like the amount of, I mean, you can look at how many people we have live now. In the beginning of the season, we were around 80. We're at 17 right now. And to me, that it just shows that like the attention, it shows that people have sort of just punted on the season already. That's what it shows, in my opinion. And I think that hopefully the UTSA brand and the way it's ran and the people who's running it can do a little bit more to keep people interested into the team without it just being about wins and losses. And I know that's very, very difficult. I'm not trying to say that I have the special sauce to that, but it's a very, very difficult thing to do. But I don't know. It's something that I think we'd all benefit from because obviously UTSA will benefit from it, but I feel like that. How are you going to build a culture and a vibrant community that's die hard, that's going to donate if you can't keep their attention? You got to keep the attention of the folks, good or bad. Like good or good, no matter if Texas is doing good or bad here, those people are hooked. They're not going to miss a game. Obviously there's going to be some drop off, but it's not going to be the way it is with UTSA, where you go from like 100 to like 5 over the course of a week. Mike says it's going to be hard building that excitement and momentum again after putting together a couple of wins. Yeah, I mean, it probably is. I'm sure some folks have completely punted on the season. Somewhat I was saying before, but I just think that it's one of those things where enough folks have to ask themselves, like, are you? I don't know. Are you a supporter or aren't you a supporter? And I just think some of that's interesting. Listen, even some of the more notable folks who are at every game weren't at the wasn't at the FAU game. It's like That's also a thing too that folks take note of. Like the big supporters when they don't show up to a game. That's one of the that's one of the things that comes with it though, right? Like if you're a big person who's a big UTSA fan and like you're galvanizing people to pack the Alamo Dome, whenever you don't show up and whenever you're part of the cause and part of the reason people get there, whenever you don't show up, people notice and then they're going to follow suit because they're going to say, hey, well, if this person's not doing this anymore, it doesn't matter. I don't know. Mike says marketing seems to have slowed. 11 a.m. game against Houston doesn't help. Yeah, 11 a.m. doesn't help at all, to be honest. It's funny. We were sort of planning around coming to that game, or, we're planning around coming to that game. My wife turns to me and she says, do people start drinking that early? She was talking about the tailgate. She said, does people start drinking that early? I'm like, yeah. But it definitely won't be the same buzz that we had when we went to the game earlier this year because it's so early in the morning. Yeah, the 11 a.m. game sucked. I preferred the 1 p.m. to be honest. Even 2:30 is not bad, but the 11 a.m. Yeah, it's not great. Not great. Mike says, "What's your take on how Sark handled Ewers during the Georgia game versus how Traylor handled Owen during his start this season? Sark was quick to bench him to refocus. Interesting, the difference of approach. Yeah, I think that one's a bit tricky. That one's a bit tricky. So I don't know if Sark should have done that, to be honest. But it just shows you that these people are emotional too. Coaches are emotional as well. And it's a difficult thing to navigate. Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. I think you throw in Manning in a situation like that against a team like that, it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And that situation is different too, because this isn't a situation where there was an open quarterback battle to start the year. The context is very, very different. Very, very different. I can't say either guy handled the situation great, in my opinion. Yeah, that's it. That's all I can really say about it. I don't think either guy handled the situations great. But those are difficult situations. Those are difficult situations in completely two different circumstances. Considering where UTSA is and considering where UT is, and in their situation. Rowdy Runner says, because the fake fans, bro, we ride or die. Don't forget to hit that like button. Absolutely. I actually said that in like the first minute or two. I've gotten better, but I appreciate you. Y'all listen to Rowdy Runner. Smash that like button. Angela says, there's no loyalty unless we are winning. That's not how you show support. That's absolutely correct. You know, I mean, I'm not going nowhere. I tell you that, whether I have 2 people on here or I have 100, I'm not going anywhere. You can rest assured that. I just think that it is very, very interesting, the energy that UTSA Twitter has, this chat has, whenever things are going great. And there's a period of time where it's angry, and now I don't care. It's over. It's a thing in the past. That's how we end up in similar positions the following year, Unfortunate. Crazy, but we could easily be 25-2. You know what? Honestly, this is not crazy. This is not crazy. I was thinking about this the other day, and this is not crazy at all. And I hate to play the what if game, but I'm going to play the what if game. The Rice game, you could very well flip that. That could very well be a victory for us. And so and same for the East Carolina game. You could always flip that too. Those games, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, those games right there could have us sitting at what, 4-3, and we'd be on the way to being 5-3. Well, no. I'm sorry. No, 5-2. I'm sorry. Yeah, 5-2. Yeah, 100%. I 100% agree. I mean, and we're talking about plays. Think about it. When if that ball would have went any other way when Zah Frazier hit it in that last play with against Rice, pretty much, we will probably be in a situation. We'd probably be in a situation where we would have won that game. 100%. They would have had one more play. And our season, the complexion of our season could look a lot different. The East Carolina game, yeah, I mean, we had 3 opportunities to take the lead. One of them we even caught a pick that put us in the red zone. We didn't score, didn't even get a field goal. Like, that one hurts too, but there was still a little bit more time in that game, and East Carolina did have time to go down and score, and then we got even another possession after that. So that one less, but the Rice game for sure, our season could look completely different. Mike says, I do hear lots of people bringing family and friends to the Memphis game, so I'm hopeful a good crowd and the runners to win. Yeah, like I said, I'm bringing folks too to that Memphis game. I'm excited about that, but it's here's the weird part. The thing that scares me about is there going to be a lot of people at the game. I personally think Memphis is a really nice school who's doing really, really well. And I don't want to hear nobody, that's not a great team to go watch. Whatever. That's good football. Memphis is a good team. And it's a big game for us. And especially if we're coming off 2 back-to-back victories. Yeah, that's a live game. I don't care what nobody says. That's a live game. Are we going to be expected to win? No. But I feel like, that the Dome's going to be rocking. We're undefeated at the Dome. I don't care what our record says. We're still undefeated at the Dome. I don't care who the opponents were. We're undefeated at the Dome. That should be even more motivation for people to get out and come out and support, to, sort of be that 12th man that's going to be out there to help push the team to victory. I think if our defense is out there making plays and our defense is out there to if they're out there making plays and stopping things, like, you just never know. You never know. Like, football, that's the beauty about football is, like, it's not played on paper, It's not played on paper. People got to go there, strap up the pads, and they got to go put in a shift. That's how you win and lose football games. And we have a really good performance against Tulsa. Who's to say we can't roll in there and defend the Dome, Will Henderson says we'll definitely be at the Memphis game. Yeah, for sure. Hope to see you out there. Yeah, I'm gonna be out there. We're gonna be tailgating. It's weird though. Question for you guys. I don't think I've tailgated at an 11 o'clock game. What's a good time for us to get there? I'm gonna hang around a bit until I get some answers on that. What's a good time for us to get there? Because I see that it's not being open to 7. So I'm like, it's a 4-hour window until game time. So are people going to have time to set up properly? Are people still going to be tailgating? I don't know. I know the gates open at 7, but people won't be tailgating at 7, right? Like, the people will just be getting in and everybody be setting up. This is my assumption. I'm not sure if I'm right or wrong about this. This is my assumption. I don't know. Listen, I would say, like, you guys, let me know on Twitter. At me on Twitter and let me know on Twitter what should be a great arrival time. Like, I don't want to get there at 7 a.m. because we don't have anything to set up. But yeah, we'll see. Okay, Mike says, Usually 1 hour to set up and 1 hour to break down. So 8 to 10 is ideal. Okay. That's okay. Cool. Cool. Yep. You never know. Have to believe. Don't forget to wear black. The team will be in black. Oh, that's a good point. Good point. 8 to 10. Okay. 8 to 10. Thank y'all for that. 8 to 10. I'll be there then. 8 to 10. That should be fun then. Cool beans. In terms of prediction for this game, I'm gonna go UTSA. I think we'll put up some points against this team. I think we put up points. I'm gonna go UTSA. I'm gonna go UTSA 35, Tulsa 17. 35-17 UTSA victory. I think we beat this team. And yeah, I expect I think we're gonna just make some mistakes in general because we're not super efficient right now offensively or anywhere. But yeah, think it should be a pretty good game for UTSA this weekend. I'm hoping so. Now, the next question is, will I be doing let me know on Twitter or in the chat if you guys would like me to do some form of a live chat, a live watch along like I did for the last away game. If you guys are interested in that, let me know. I'm going to put some stuff out on Twitter. I'm not going to lie to you. There's a UTSA card, or I said a UTSA card, a UFC card that I am certainly eyeing, which could conflict my start time because I don't know if any of you guys watch UFC, but Max Holloway is fighting. So I might have to work around that a little bit. But if you guys want a live watch along, feel free to ping or feel free to leave it in the chat or shoot me a message or something on or a tweet or something on Twitter, and I'll see what I can do in terms of making some time for that as well. All right, guys. I'll see you guys this weekend. I'm gonna do on Saturday. I'm probably gonna do a post show or I might do a watch along as well. So stay on the lookout for that. If I do that, I'll put out comms both on YouTube and on Twitter to sort of notify folks prior to that I'll be doing a watch along, and then we go from there. So yeah, birds up. Hope we get a dub. I am signing off. Peace.